Good morning. Good morning, lovely people. Hope you're well on this slightly rainy day in the UK. This is your Yoga Solutions Live with me, Marc J Acquaviva, on Tuesday, 24th of September, 2019. Yes. Okay, let's get started. Okay. So I had a few questions this week, and because it's funny, it's like buses. It comes in. They all come at once. I had no questions for a few weeks, and lots. So let me just have a look. See, I can find them. Where are they? Where is it now? Oh, I don't know how to do this. I had it up before, and there were some questions about, let's see if I can see them. No, I can't see anything. Anyway, I'll try and remember, because I remember what was wanted. It was there was a question from Barbara around standing balances, which I'll be happy to look at. But there were some other quite sort of detailed questions about. There was one question from, I think it was Vanessa Webb, around plantar fasciitis, and I was saying to her that it's quite a tricky one because it's a bit slow in recovery, if you like, because the tissue, the plantar fasciitis, is the stuff over the sole of the foot, is painful when you walk, and basically it's just basically painful. And it's my experience of this is that the majority of people that seem to have it have a kind of overextended inner arch, together with a sort of an attempt to stretch the foot, and they tend to be heel strikers when they walk or run. And the solution, like all of it, is basically to find support through your touch, through your structure. So rather than sort of pulling on the tissue of the sole of the foot, which kind of makes up the whole of the back line of the body in terms of the tensegrous model of support, instead of pulling on it and stretching it, the job is to get it to loosen up, because you are supported through your joints and through your bones. So the person has to actually look for support from their touch, rather than trying to create support by lifting an arch and then pushing and trying to stretch the tension that they feel. Plantar fasciitis is quite tricky, because most of these solutions kind of work almost directly, in that the pain is there for as long as you are in conflict with yourself, and then the moment you can find more harmonious relationships that are less complicated, there is a relief of the pain. The body's quick to reward you for finding better relationships. But for some reason, and I'm not sure why, maybe it's just because we walk all the time, I don't know. But for some reason, the pain in plantar fasciitis seems to take a while to reduce, even if you're creating the conditions for that to happen. So what happens when you get to use your feet through the bones, through the structure, is that tissue is no longer being pulled around and stretched and all the rest of it. But it's quite possible that plantar fasciitis happens when you actually succeed in stretching the tissue. So it's complaining about having been stretched. I don't know. And it will take a while for that stuff to come back together, because it's quite thick. What else? There was I think it was Marianne. She was complaining about there's a adductor pain in the insert in her adductor, I think, and she said it was in the groin. And I suggested, and I won't know until I see her move, because that's the thing with these things, is we tend to look at the body in the medical model, and there is a symptom, and then there's a description of what the symptom is, which we think is the problem. For example, plantar fasciitis, it's the plantar fascia has an itis, as in it's got a problem. It's not telling you anything. It's not telling you anything about how it's come about. And it's the same with hip problems. She was experiencing tension in the groin, which is an aspect of the hip flexors, and then now she's experiencing tension in the difficulty in the adductor. And so the only thing I can say remotely, without looking at how she moves, is that tension, that pain, it will be, if it is pain, it's because the tissue is overworking for some reason, or is damaged, and it might be damaged because of overwork or some. But that's the diagnosis. But it's sort of meaningless, because the solution will be in how she moves, how she is supported as she moves, and fundamentally, if that tissue is under strain, then there is something going on in relationships between things that causes the area to be in strain, and the fact that it's moving around made me think I need to do a one-to-one. So if you get a chance, Marianne, book in with me. I might be able to do it online if I can see. Well, I mean, I can see online, but it's the advantage of doing it in person, hands-on, is that I can sort of gift you the experience directly, because I can see what relationships are required. The advantage and the difficulty of doing it online is that you have to understand it. So I have to get it across in a way that will, and it will be, by definition, it will be something completely unfamiliar. I'll have to get across a different way of working that will allow a different relationship. So harder to achieve, but actually it can be more useful in some ways, because you get to actually understand for yourself, which means you can recreate it. So yeah, that was Marianne's. What else was there? There was some other things. Oh yes, someone had has a break in the distal, was it radius? Was it the forearm? One of the bones of the forearm, and he was asking about how to help heal the break. And again, I would have to see what's going on in order to actually give a solution, because it depends, is the answer. It depends on the angle of the break. If it's a clean, straight through break, it's might be one of the more painful ones, but it's actually the easiest to fix. Well, not fix, but to help heal, because you can get involved with your touch, so that the forces that come back from it travel through. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. Travel through the bones of the arm in a way that helps the bone knit together. You see, and you don't need much, just because the way bone responds to pressure. Well, it does. It responds to pressure, so it extrudes where you pull it, and where you push it, it sort of gets tougher. It gets stronger. So sort of pushing a bone to one side is not useful, because it will get tough in that direction. But being through it helps it get stronger in that direction. It's kind of how the bone gets its strength, is from those forces, which is, to go off topic a little, is one of the potential ways of helping osteoporosis. It's I'm really putting my neck on the line by saying these things. So I have to put a disclaimer. I have no proof. I haven't got hold of 1,000 people with osteoporosis and tried it out with them. But I'll tell you, the people that have worked with me that started with osteoporosis have experienced massive improvement in their quality of movement and support, and the osteoporosis hasn't proved to be a problem. So that's the only evidence I have. And so anyway, back to the subject. it's the non-use of a bone that leads to dysfunction. If you use it, if it takes weight through its axis, it becomes strong, because that's how bone responds to those forces. If there's a shearing force, on the other hand, then that it can go with a shear, because it's designed to do the job of support. So, and especially if there's a break or a fracture, like if it's at an angle, you put too much force through that angle, and that creates a shearing force. So it would need to be simply pinned together, and then you wait until it's knitted together enough for the knitting to be strong enough so that the shearing force doesn't dislodge it, and then using the bone through the axis will help. It's just the sideways forces, the pulling of the bones around from the outside, the lifting, the carrying of the bones, rather than the use of them, that weakens them. Okay, so if there is a fracture, obviously you don't do anything if it hurts. Okay, but if the angle of the fracture, if you know what the angle is, then that helps. But a way of testing whether it's working or not is the lightest of touch, the lightest of efforts through your touch, in order to get a haptic feedback through the structure that you're interested in. And when you're through, when you're through and there's no threat to the bone, there won't be pain. In fact, it will feel nice. If you push too hard and you cause a disproportionate force, then it will hurt. So the body will tell you. The thing that will bugger things up is being fearful of using the thing ever again. And then the whole body works out ways of not using that bone. Anyway, was there anything else? Yes, yes, it was Barbara. I think it was Barbara and Gail are interested in standing balances. And yes, Barbara got to work with her for the first time at the Glasgow weekend, the first time in person. She's been doing online stuff with me, and it was great. It's really lovely to work with her directly, and there's a sort of a quantum leap between working with me online. Like I was saying before, you get the ideas, and then you can apply that to yourself, so you learn well. But then applying it in practice, when I'm there in person, I can engage with that. I can see what's missing, and especially if it's hands-on, I can make it happen for you, and the outcome will be very, very different. So it's, and you know, there's other people in the course in Scotland that have experienced that, from starting with me online and then moving on to the in-person courses, and yeah, so it's quite a quantum leap. So and it was amazing, and she was saying that she's feeling a bit more, you know, as challenging as it was, the weekend was, she's now feeling a bit more lively in her hips and a bit more lively in her feet, and some new freedoms. So she wanted to have a look at balances, and Gail, who was also on the course with me, and it's lovely working with you, Gail, as always, and Ali. Great to see you all at the weekend. It was really nice doing it at Jane's on the Sunday, and yes. Okay, so let's get on with balances. You kind of need a broader perspective, so I'm just going to use my take to do that. Here we go. So balances. Let me tune into what this is about. I've had a bit of a hectic morning, so haven't had a chance to practice this directly yet. Let me just angle the camera slightly. That's better. That's more like it. Okay. Right. So standing balances. Okay. So there's so much in the language of the thing that is behind both the complication and the solution. Adjusting a light there so you can see me properly. The problem that people give themselves with balancing is generally because there's an idea of stacking your weight up over a passive base. So they release tension, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to want to do. Just trying to get this level. Is that it? It's more like it. Yeah. So they try and release tension over a foot, and the foot's not necessarily sort of doing anything, but then then there's a sort of series of holding patterns that involves trying to hold yourself up, basically, and that happens because obviously you don't want to fall over. That's the baseline problem, is the idea of what balance is. Whereas if you're thinking about it in functional terms, so when in life do you have weight on one foot and not the other? And it's when you're walking, and when you walk, some people try and be passive in their feet, but there's and that leads to, I could do a whole thing on walking, but you're naturally engaging with the act of supporting yourself. The foot goes down. Okay, and when you balance, you put a foot down and then you try and balance on top of it, which is a totally different intention behind the movement. So the starting point for balance is to engage through your touch. It's the holy grail, basically. It's the answer to most things. Is that if you want to feel supported in what you do, it's not about how you hold yourself in space to do that thing. It's about how you can derive support from the way you interact with the world around you, and which brings me on to my upcoming online course. I'll talk about it at the end if I remember. Yes, so if you want to explore what it means to actually put a foot down, as in looking for support, there's an action of putting the foot down. But it's not just so it makes contact. You keep going, you keep pressing through, and if you take a bit of space, take a bit of breath before you go there, because I know what we're like. We start to look downwards at what we're doing, and then that influences the experience. And what we're looking for is a genuine life-related response, not something we do just when we're on the yoga mat. So you take a breath in space, you let yourself be in space, you take a breath with that freedom, and then as you release the breath, just because it's so useful rule of thumb to find these things, as you release the breath, you place the foot down, which is the act of the heel in this case, landing first, then the little toe edge, and then the ball of the foot. And that last part is the thing I'm talking about when I'm talking about touching the ground. There's other ways of touching, but it's using your foot to go through the earth, and the result is a movement away from it through the rest of you, and the other leg becomes light as a result. Pretty obvious when you're walking, because there's a sort of a dynamic movement, and it's not static. You're not intending to stay still. Okay, but if you can keep that action happening, not in a fixed way, but in response to the breath. So what you can do is you can back off a bit and breathe, and then have another go. So you can sort of take the weight, not take the weight off, but you make some space, take a breath, release the breath as you put your foot through the earth, and I'm mirroring with my hand because it will help you find how to use your foot. You see, the action of putting the hand down is not different from putting a foot down. And you do this rhythmically, and if you want to stay there, the arrival of the breath, you have a moment of release, a moment of letting go of holding up, a moment of letting go of the pushing down. But the breath arrives in that moment, and then you can have another go. So you let go again, you trust the balance of the thing for a moment as the breath arrives, and if you stay in space, you won't be capsized by that. And then you have another go. And the more that foot goes down, not the more the leg straightens, because that would be you pulling your knee away from the ground. The more the foot goes down, the more the thighs will come up, the more you will feel supported in the middle and the sides of the body. And if it remains a rhythmic, dynamic practice, then you won't be trying to hold a balance, which is actually the problem. Trying to hold a balance is a very, very strange thing to do. It's holding a position where you're not supported. Whereas if you find a rhythmic relationship to your touch that supports you, and if when you allow the breath in, you can relax with that, but sort of be in space, then you're supported by space as well. So that the next pulse through your foot, the touch of your foot, makes you a bit stronger, a bit lighter in space. And if you come to a place where the other foot touches the thigh, then again, you've got another point of contact, another point of support that can be used as you release the breath. You sort of rely on it between foot and thigh as you stay in space. Well, I'm talking way too much, so I'll start again. So the foot goes down. I trust space to breathe. The release of the breath, the foot goes down. And if I come into contact, then I can use the contact between the foot and the thigh as well. So there's this kind of a feeling of a bit like prayer pose between the foot and thigh. Whoops. So you do run the risk, as I obviously am, of losing balance, because there is an intention to let go of tension. But between these rhythms of working through your touch and attempting to release into space, they both are a form of balance, if you like. As in, you're engaging with appropriate effort to support yourself from the earth, and you're organizing yourself appropriately in space so that you can let go of tension. And it's through the rhythms of breathing, so it's not interfering with the being alive. Okay? So that's a sort of a kind of starting point, and it's for balances. Oh yes, Barbara asked for Ardha Chandrasana, wasn't it? Because that's quite tricky. So let's have a go at that. Yes, I've got time just about. So it brings me to another aspect of touch. I seem to be on this subject. It might be because of my upcoming online course, Haptic Intelligence. Yeah, so there's the placing of the foot down, heel, little toe, ball of the foot, in order to support yourself from that outward action, okay? But then when the foot is touching the ground, there's something else you can engage with. It's a different kind of touch. And it's a bit more like what you would do if you were trying to massage someone with your foot. You know, it's, you put some weight down, you make contact, but then you use that contact to sort of affect the surface that you're in contact with. And essentially it's using your touch to feel supported back through your body. And it creates these spiral relationships that a lot of people talk about in yoga. And it's the other way around. It's sort of, once the foot is down, you kind of start with where the ball of the foot is on the ground, and then you radiate out from that to the little toe side. And if that supports you, then the release of the breath can connect back and down with the kind of resting touch of the heel. Away from you, as opposed to being on your heel and trying to hold yourself up. See? So it's using of the touch to support you. Big toe, little toe, heel. And that gives you more of a kind of sense of being supported by your active touch back through your bones, back through your joints, and so that you can relax into space yet again. So I'm getting a bit more involved with the sort of the big toe, little toe, heel kind of radiating touch, and the rest of the body tends to open up in response to that. And again, it's a rhythmic dynamic. One of the main things that goes wrong with this is the foot you're lifting, the leg you're lifting becomes something you carry with you back, and then you're already in trouble. So it's important to get the foot down in the first place, the heel, little toe ball of the foot, so that the leg coming off the ground isn't because you're lifting it, it's being given to the standing foot. And then when you want to expand in space, you can change your quality of touch into a radiating kind, big toe, little toe, to find space as you arrive on the heel. And that will support through your bones to allow you to kind of relax into space. And again, you run the risk of falling over because we're trying to let go. That's the point. Okay, so I hope that was useful. It was a kind of a brief thing because I was talking a lot about other things. But yes, it does segue rather neatly into my intentions. So let's get this back. Hi. So yeah, I think my microphone's likely to go off pretty soon. So let's just switch it off and on again, so that it lasts a bit longer. And yeah, so I need to get myself a proper microphone. My proper one sort of died on me recently, and I've got this cheap one. It works well with a lot of sort of online trickery, but it would be nice to have a proper microphone back. Talking of which, I'd like to make a big shout out to Camilla Morgan, a lovely woman that I have met recently, and at the yoga festival. It was the World Yoga Festival, I think, and she has been one of the first to follow my donation link, and she's made a monthly subscription, and she just put a little note in appreciation of your work, Mark, and I was touched by that, and so yeah, big shout out to you, Camilla. Thank you so much. You started something here, and it's something I kind of feel would be a good thing to happen. So I don't know if it's worked, but I think I put a poll on the Facebook page to ask if anyone here would be prepared to pay a small donation or a subscription on to keep this content going, to help fund this content, because it costs me money to do it, but I want to be able to put this stuff out there ideally for free. So at the moment there's a donation system where you can go to the link that's somewhere in the description, and you can choose how much you want to donate, and it could be a one-off thing, or you can make it a monthly thing. And even £1 a month. If everyone on Yoga with Mark group gave me £1 a month to keep this content going, I would have a basic living that would cover my bills, and that would be incredible. What an incredible freedom that would be, and I'd be free to put out this content wholeheartedly without worrying about sort of how to pay my bills. So yeah, that's an option. If you're up for supporting this work and keeping this content going and free, please click that link, and you will receive my heartfelt gratitude for joining me in my mission. The other option potentially is and it's something Facebook are trying out, is to make subscription groups where to get this content you would need to be a subscriber, which would be okay. I could do that, but the thing that annoys me about it is that the minimum you can charge for that would be a £5 a month or something. And then Facebook and everyone else, Facebook won't take a cut right now, but they will. They'll take about half in the end. So what would happen is you'd be paying for the content, but it will be mostly be going to the companies that run the subscription, which is, I don't know, it's the way of things, isn't it? It's the way of the world, and it will be a simple way of doing it. But anyway, so I put a poll there to see if anyone would feel that it was an appropriate thing to do, just to help support the ongoing production of this content. Yeah, you can leave a comment, or if you feel drawn to subscribe. Anyway, then there's a link to a PayPal button where you can help out, and I will be eternally grateful. And yeah, okay, so that's that. Yes, it also means I can get myself a proper microphone that doesn't switch off every 5 minutes. Okay, so I have got actually some really quite grand projects in mind. I occasionally get real, full-on patrons that are willing to help me promote this work, and I've got ideas of taking this stuff to a particular village in India, where we have where we're helping a man with a sort of a lame arm, and he's getting back function, and he really wants to become a yoga teacher with this work. And so I know it's a bit Coles to India, but sorry, Coles to Newcastle, but still, it feels like a worthwhile project. So I've got lots of things in mind. I've got really quite grand vision for this work, because I think it's incredible what it can do. So if you want to help out in any way, it's all very, very much appreciated. And anyone out there with more money than they need and wanting to do something good with it, then give me a call and we can talk, and you'll probably get yoga for life out of it. Okay. Right, so other than that, things that I've got coming up, well, on Thursday the 10th of October 2019, 6:30 p.m. I'm starting my next series of online courses, and they're aimed at dedicated yoga teachers, enthusiastic yoga practitioners, body workers of any kind, really, any tradition, anyone that's interested in the body-mind experiment. And the first series is called Haptic Intelligence, and it will be a 6-week course starting on the 10th of October. And there'll be sort of an hour and 15 to an hour and a half sessions, including some some guided structured practice, some Q&A and deep relaxations, and sort of a roundup thing each week that you can take into your life and your practice. Yes, and I haven't got that many places. Any of you that are on the Acquaviva courses, talk to me separately. You've got a place. I'm keeping places for the people that are on the live Acquaviva courses, so you can take part. And I've messaged some of the people that have expressed interest. I haven't got round to all of them because I don't necessarily know where all the comments were. So I'm putting out there, if you've expressed interest and I haven't asked you directly yet, then get in touch, and I'll make sure you get priority of place. There's only a certain number of places, so if you want to book, if you're thinking about it, have a look. See, it's just a link on my events page on the website, but it gives you a reasonable amount of detailed dates and the general intent of the thing. That starts Thursday, 10th of October. Other than that, workshops coming up. There's the continuation of the Yoga Solutions series in Brighton. The next one is Sunday the 13th, and it's entitled New Vision, engaging with the space that we occupy. And the Glasgow version is Saturday the 19th of October, the Saturday, the weekend after. On 26th of October, I'm doing an afternoon workshop at Stretch, London. It's Ada Street Studio, and that's always very nice. A group of lovely people, but mostly on Carl's course, actually. Carl up at Stretch in London, he runs these rather good teacher training courses, and he likes to send people along to me to have their minds blown, and they always seem to enjoy it. So he's doing a good job of opening them up in the first place. So thank you, Carl. That's on Saturday 26th of October in the afternoon. Book with Stretch for that one, but all the links are on my website. Sunday the 3rd of November, there's a Heart Twickenham. It's actually in a different venue than usual, but it's in Twickenham, and You connect. You can book directly with the Heart Twickenham crew. The link for that is on my website too. 22nd of November. It's a Friday. It's a late morning workshop in Hazelmere near Guildford, hosted by one of my long-term students and a rather wonderful teacher, Louisa Birtwell, who also does massage and reflexology and I think it's aromatherapy as well, which is rather good. And on Saturday, 23rd of November, in Angmering near Chichester, I'm doing a day workshop, but it's two individual workshops, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. You can book for the day for a discount, or if you only want to do half a day, you can book for half a day. And that's with in Angmering at Cindy Robbins' studio, who is also an Acquaviva alumni. So I think that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was useful. If you did find it useful, then spread it around whilst it's still free. I don't know if I can bring myself to make it subscription. I don't know, but you know, if you want to help me out with this, then go ahead and subscribe via the donations link. That would be wonderful. I'll be very grateful. But yes, whilst it's free, spread it wide and far, because my mission is to get this work out into the world. So thank you so much, and that's my bell to say it's time. So I am Marc J Acquaviva, the Acquaviva School of Yoga, signing off until the same time, same place next week. Lots of love to you all. Hope you have a lovely weekend, lovely week.